So I've been running this business officially for a little under 2 years now, and I went from completely zero blank slate to I'm on track to hit my first 1K month, which is, yes, not absolute numbers, not very big, but it's still a big number for me. Pretty good for just some guy editing videos in his bedrooms in pajamas. But of course, unless any of the business deals falls through, which of course never happens in a video editing business. He says in an overly sarcastic manner to illustrate that business can be fickle sometimes. In this 5-minute video, I'm going to run through all of the stages to go from zero to, well, here. Tell you all the things that you need to focus on now so you don't have to go through all the same pain and suffering as I did figuring it out. And the wasted time. Lots of wasted time. Starting out from zero to a rough plan and getting something working to consistently making it run without crashing and burning down. Because that tends to be the hardest part. Well, everything is hardest at the start, but business has the unique complexity of needing to figure out 20 different things at once and needing all 20 different things to run correctly at the same time for it to be working and making money. And more often than not, you have to be the one that is learning everything, so it pretty much moves as fast as you can learn. Even in my own personal experience, I want to say that like 80% of the money that I made has been in the last 5 months, even though I've been doing this for a little under 2 years. But that is just what the first stage of like is, you basically spending the vast majority of the time learning while getting some lucky breaks every once in a while. But having the majority of it making almost zero money while some occasional blips of success coming and going just like the wind. It's funny, but for now this is gonna work. I can feel it in my bones. I fixed A, B, C, and D. Nothing else could possibly break. And then it breaks. Again and again. Repeat it ad infinitum for quite a while. But back on topic. But since the vast majority of this stage is learning, if I could turn back the time and do things differently, here's what I would change. 1. I would find a way to properly compile everything that I learned and have it in a place that I can reference and look at easily, so I can run through it multiple times and see if I'm forgetting to implement anything or fix any mistakes that I have done. Just so I can really consolidate that knowledge, because as I've learned, we pretty much learn nothing until we have to actually use it. This is a side tangent, but lately I've had to learn how to build an entire off-grid solar system for some of the unsavory situations that have been happening lately. And even though I learned the same things in electrical engineering courses that I've had in my college, I forgot all about them and couldn't remember a single thing when I needed it, and now I had to learn it all from scratch when I actually had to put my hands to use on it. It just goes to show, you learn zero until you have to actually apply it. Just as it happened to me, whatever you learn, you will likely forget it until a situation comes up where you need it, and after you implement it, you're like, oh, I actually learned this in the past, why didn't I remember it? So yeah, just make that process a little bit easier while compiling that knowledge. I'm planning on using Obsidian for this, but you may choose your own. Currently, I just have everything on a Notion document. 2. Put together checklists and standardize everything that could possibly be standardized. And I'll tell you why, with another illustrating example. Because I can't describe just how much time this will save you, I literally can't. A big problem I had at the start that I didn't actually realize was a problem is that I'd learn something new, I'd implement it into my work, then the next time that I came down to work or just do something, I'd either forget or skip what I had already learned, and then I'd be literally back at square zero. And so when an edit did well or an outreach message just landed a client, I didn't know what worked or how I could replicate it a second time. Which is important for point 3, which is to literally track everything that is related to the business. Track how many leads you have, track your conversion rate, track what is the average amount of a deal that you do land with a client, track how long does a client usually stay with you, track how long it takes to close someone, how many activities/messages that you have to send out to actually land a client. If you try to play things by ear, I guarantee you that you will stagnate and flounder aimlessly because of the very real situation that I'm about to explain to you right now. Say that one day you send out 30 outreach messages, and then the day after you send 10, and then the day after that you send out another 20, and then you finally land client. So you repeat it, you send another 20 outreach messages, and guess what? You'll land another client. Now if that happens, you'll believe that, oh, it takes 40 messages to land 2 clients, so 20 messages per client, even though that you actually sent out 40 other messages before that one, so it's actually 40 messages per one client. Now this is a problem because if you're trying to hit a revenue goal or you need to get some clients very quickly, you'll be doing the math based on wrong numbers. And that will mess everything up, and you won't understand why everything is suddenly going wrong even though you were basing everything on a wrong assumption. It's alright if you never tracked before, I didn't either until recently, but the very most important thing that I would focus on is just the conversion rate, i.e. if I have to send 100 messages, how many clients would that get me? 1? 2? Because then at least you'll have something that you can work off of. In the next stage, now you're making money, but it's very inconsistent and you don't really have any grip on it. You do have a business, yes, but it's pretty much on life support. In this stage, I had months where I made like $500 in 3 days, and then others where I had 0 and then 0 and then another 0. The main issue here for me was that I would get my clients at very random times and I wouldn't have any direct control on what and where they came from. Sometimes it was referrals from old or existing clients. Sometimes it was some prospect that is replying to me from a message that was months ago. Sometimes, and it would actually be a message that I sent out recently. And that's usually isn't a problem in itself unless someone leaves suddenly that you've been working with seamlessly for a few months now, and they take all the monthly revenue along with them. The main issue here for me was not knowing how to craft a proper outreach message and then not having enough leads to go through so I can land clients pretty much on demand. For the first one, I laid it out pretty clearly in this video that I'm gonna link to because I already had discussed it very broadly in there. But in a nutshell, it's basically about personalizing it as much as you possibly can and giving as much value upfront as possible. The second one is a little bit more tricky, but thanks to social media you can find pretty much any number of leads that you're looking for. You just have to filter through them just to see if you're a good fit working together. In most cases that just comes down to looking through the network of people that use services similar to yours, or just looking for places where there is an active demand like Upwork or Fiverr, although I don't really like those places for a number of reasons that I've laid out in previous videos. And last but not least, and the point that I think that I'm finally coming up onto right now, is stage 3, where you're actually starting to land on some solid ground and you're starting to thrive. At this point, you know where your leads are coming from, you know how to qualify them, you know how to edit the sample, craft a proper outreach message, and actually land them. At this point, well, at least what I'm experiencing right now is that I have to figure out everything I can do to maximize the volume that I'm pushing out so I can land the revenue goals that I want. For example, one of my goals for this year is to have at least one 4K month. And I mean, technically I'm about 25% of that right now. And I think that with everything I have learned now, I actually have the skills and knowledge to be able to make this come to life. I just have to play the game of time management and efficiency just a little better. If that's something that you're curious about, here's this video where I discussed that topic in a little bit more detail. And here's this video that I was mentioning all throughout the video. If this helped, sub so I can reach 1K by the end of the year, and bye!